First off, thank you so much for being here a day before a very important day, the elections. My name is Erika Andiola, and I am undocumented, I am unafraid, and I am unashamed. It wasn't always like that. When I first came to this country, I was 11 years old, and it didn't just take me a little bit of steps to get into the United States. It took us 3 days.
You guys are going to be performing.
A long journey after my mom decided to take that journey. And the reason why she decided to do that was because she was going through horrible pain caused by my own father. She was a victim of domestic violence for many, many years. And as a strong, amazing woman who cared more about her children, she decided to apply for a visa to come to the United States. Unfortunately, we didn't have the resources. We didn't have the ability to prove that, we were not going to stay in the United States. So we got denied a visa many times. And my mom continued to be abused by my own father. We moved. We went from one place to the other. And my father would continue to follow us and continue the same pattern of abuse. Until my mother said, I need to break this. She was strong enough to say, I'm going to find a way out. And I have siblings in the United States who are U.S. citizens and who are going to be able to help us. And she made the hardest, toughest decision of her life. We could have been, killed. We could have been lost in the desert. But she said, we have to figure out a way to get out of this violence. And we crossed the desert for 3 days, and we got to Arizona. We came to Arizona at a time that I didn't necessarily understand how difficult it was going to be an undocumented person in the state. I got here, I went into school, I learned English in a matter of a year. I was already starting to really feel, like I was part of this country. I was starting to, make friendships. And one day, my mom, was very, very frustrated. She started selling food to be able to survive here in the U.S., right? She would sell Mexican food door to door. She would go into some of the parking lots like you see other ladies doing this. She would do that because she needed to feed us. While I was in school, when my little brother, who also came with us, was only 2 years old, and my other siblings who also needed her. So she did that. And one day she said, I need to go back because I don't know what else to do. We keep moving from one apartment to the other. People think right here that I'm doing something wrong. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm trying to sell food. I'm trying to feed you guys. Maybe I just need to go back. And at that point, I was already here for about a year. And I said, I just don't want to go, Mom. I want to be here. I like this country. I think I can do so much. And I'm going to work very, very hard to make sure that I'm going to give back everything that you are giving for me. And, I went to school. I was able to work very, very hard, trust me. This is not something that we're asking for. It's not a handout. It's something they work very hard for. I was able to get about 6 scholarships to go to school, most of them private. Didn't take any money from anybody. I worked very hard for it. And I was able to get into Arizona State University despite of my legal status. They opened the doors to me. Given that I had the right GPA, I had the right activities, I played soccer, I did everything. You have no idea, I was a little bit too busy at times, but it was something that I wanted to do, and my mom was an inspiration for that. So I went to school, I got accepted into ASU, and at some point I really thought perhaps going to school, perhaps being a university student, perhaps having my ASU ID that I would carry everywhere, it kind of felt like it was sort of a green card somehow. It really was. I said, maybe if I get pulled over by the police or, somehow immigration gets to my house, I show them my ID and they're going to say, well, she's a student, she's doing the right thing. And it really felt like that. Until one day, Arizona put in the ballot this really, really nonsense proposition called Proposition 300. And that proposition said that if you were an undocumented student, regardless of how you had worked, you could no longer pay in state tuition. And if you had any scholarships from the state, from ASU, from other universities, then you couldn't keep them. I was awarded the Maroon and Gold Scholarship at ASU. it was, something that really kept me going in school, and all of a sudden I get a letter, and it says, bring us your social security number, and if you don't have a social security number, I'm so sorry, but you cannot longer keep your scholarship. It was one of the toughest moments of my life, because not only that year I lost what I had worked very hard for, but it was also a year that my mother was working at a water park here in Arizona. She was working with papers that were not hers. She made up a social security number. And I can tell you that many of us do that. And it is because we want to break the law, trust me. I see a lot of students and a lot of my friends who make the same IDs to go to the bar, and nobody says anything about it. And that was for work. She was there ready to really give as much as she can, like she always has for her kids. Chair Arpaio goes to work, takes all of her documents, there's the documents of everybody else who was working there without documents, and decides to go to my house. We were not there, but she took my uncle. He took my uncle's friends who were there. A lot of them ended up deported. My uncle ended up in jail for many, many months just for being in my house. And that year I learned that it was going to be tough to continue to be undocumented. But one of the things that ended up coming out of that was something that was, to me, it was a blessing, not only to me, but to many immigrants and millions of immigrants across the country. A group of undocumented students at ASU had gone through the same struggles. And we all said, you know what? This is time for us to come out and give the face of the real undocumented people. This is us. This is people who are not stealing anything. This is people who are here to make literally a better life. And we are here to show you who we are, and this is who we are. We're going to tell you our story. We're going to come out of the shadows. We're going to tell you we're undocumented, that we're unafraid, and that we aren't ashamed. And we formed a movement that we called it the Dreamer Movement. That came out of a legislation that was called the DREAM Act that was being pushed at the federal level, and that would grant, citizenship to undocumented youth who, worked very hard, who had graduated from college or gone to the military, or many other eligibility statuses, and go through all kinds of background checks. If you were to do that, you would be able to get citizenship. And we learned about that, and we said, let's push for it. And, they said they were pushing for the DREAM Act, and we're going to call them the Dreamers. And this movement really emerged. I was able to, see movement happening for millions of young people who couldn't vote, who couldn't exercise, the power of voting, but who were literally mobilizing their communities all across the country. And one day we said, you know what? Unfortunately, the DREAM Act failed in 2010. We pushed very hard for it, but it failed by 5 votes in the Senate. We came out of that defeat, and we said, we have been able to stop deportations of Dreamers all across the country one by one. And the way that we were able to do that was that somebody would call us and say, I'm in trouble. I was in school, I came out of college, I was, with my family, immigration came and they took me. I need to figure out how to stay here. Or their families would call us and we were able to stop their deportations by organizing the community, by making thousands of calls to immigration, by making thousands of calls to our Congress members, and we were able to get them out and to have them stay in the United States. We said, we can do that with a lot of different Dreamers one by one by one. Why don't we ask the president to give us all Dreamers a way to stay here without being deported? And it took a while. President Obama did not want to do it. He said over and over again, I can't. And we would follow him around throughout the country. We said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And we pushed it. And we pushed and pushed and pushed. And in 2012, June 15 of 2012, President Obama came out to the Rose Garden. And because of the movement that we created, President Obama announced something called Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And it's not a path to citizenship. It's a work permit. It's something that allows you to stay here in the United States. And I was able to apply. And I was able to get a work permit. And my first time ever, I had a Social Security number. That was real. Yeah. And the most amazing part of it is that a little bit after I got my Social Security number, I get a call from a congresswoman who I worked very closely with here against SB 1070, a horrible law that really impacted my family. And she called me and she said, I'm hiring and I want to hire a dreamer. You want to work in Congress? I said, why not? Let's pass immigration reform. Let's figure out a way to do this. I started working in Congress. That same day, I called my mom and I said, Mommy, I'm going to come home. We should cook something or go out to dinner because I just got a job in Congress. I came home. My mom says, I'm going to take a shower so we can go celebrate. And while she was taking a shower, I get a knock on the door. And to me, I said, you know what? I have my work permit. I have fought so hard. I have organized for so many years now with the Dreamers. I want a little bit, a break. I want to be able to provide for my family, to work. And that day, maybe it was God, maybe it was someone out there telling me that's not enough. That knock on the door was immigration. They came home, they knocked on the door, and they said, I want to talk to Maria. My mom came out. She looked, and they said, your son is out there right now, and we're going to take him if you don't come out. Of course, it's her son. She steps out. They grab her hands, and I had never seen this in my life. My mother has never done anything wrong. They grabbed her, and they handcuffed her, and they took her. Not only her, they took my brother. That was the first time for me that I had ever seen that, and to me, I said, you know what? This was maybe my fault. Maybe it was my fault because I came out and I said I was undocumented, and maybe it was my fault because of my big mouth going on television saying that I was undocumented. I felt so guilty. I was sitting there with my little brother, crying for like 30 minutes. And I sat there on my couch and I said, what the heck's gonna happen with my mom? What's gonna happen when she gets deported? Who's gonna help her at the border? What's gonna happen to my brother? Is he gonna be there for a long time? I didn't know what to do. One of my friends comes home and he says, Erika, you need to stop crying. This moment right now, you're not Erika, the daughter. You're not Erika, the sister. Right now, you need to be Erika, the activist. You need to get up and you need to do something about it. Your mom doesn't need to, should not get deported. In a matter of 12 hours, we organized thousands of people throughout the country. I put a YouTube video online. People made thousands of calls because they saw the YouTube video. We got about 60,000 views in a matter of 12 hours. They signed thousands of petitions. And at 9 a.m., I get a call from the Mexican consulate, and they said, we have somebody here. Her name is Maria Arreola, and she said she just got returned. She's coming home. We were able to do that with the power of our community, with the power of organizing, the power of telling our own stories, not let anybody tell the story for us. And with that YouTube video, I was able to show people what is the real pain that our community goes through, the real pain that the undocumented community goes through, because we have laws in Arizona that continue to target us, to call us names, to call us illegal aliens, to call us criminals, and we are not that. We're hardworking people who are here to stay. And I can tell you right now, I'm still working very hard for my community. I'm still documented. I was able to start working for a presidential candidate as a national press secretary for Bernie Sanders. And I know it's not partisan, but it's part of the story. And I was able to draft a plan, literally, for a presidential candidate that said, this is the different things that we can do to help our community right now. And not only to help my community, but to help millions of Americans who deserve the right to education. Millions of Americans who do deserve the right for free health care. Not just for me because I'm undocumented and I want health care, no. For millions of Americans who are fighting for the same thing that I am fighting for. And I'm going to continue to fight along your side, and I ask you to continue to fight along my side. Tomorrow is a very important day. I ask you, I cannot vote, but you can. Go out there, you decide who to vote for, but you know what? You're going to be able to exercise the power that you have. I might not have the power to vote, but I do have the power of my voice. And now you can exercise the power to vote, but you can also exercise the power of your voice. Go out there, use it, and let's change America for everybody. Thank you.